Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Hello, happy Friday. If you have been to one of these free Financial Friday webinars that I put on, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. So excited to spend some time with you. If you could, please let me know that you can hear me by sharing your name, where you're from, and what you're grateful for. You can put that in the chat box down below. Just share your name, where you're from, what you're grateful for. It helps me know that you can hear me, and it's also a way for us to connect because we can't see each other in person or on video. Great. More of you are signing on. Welcome. As you come on, please share your name, where you're from, and one thing you're grateful for in the chat box. Let's see, we've got Lauren from San Francisco. I don't know why I couldn't say San Francisco. San Francisco. Hey, Lauren. I'm grateful for new career opportunities. Welcome and congratulations. That's exciting. We've got Janelle from Beltsfield, Maryland. Hey, Janelle. The sun and warm weather is what you're grateful for. Ooh, that's exciting. I know that parts of the East Coast got snow just a few days ago. So that's exciting that it seems like summer is there now. Awesome. We got BB. Hey, BB. BB from Oakland. We're neighbors. Grateful for the sunshine. Yes, girl. Oh my gosh. I am loving this weather. Hey, Radia. Can you please let me know if I'm saying that right? Radia or Radia? Glad to be here. I'm from North Carolina. Grateful for another day in the land of the living. Yes. Oh my gosh. I really love the way you phrased that. Land of the living. Yeah, that's awesome. It's a great day to be alive. We've got Aloy from Denver. Welcome. Grateful for the summer weather here finally. Oh, that's interesting. So you all haven't had summer weather yet. Well, congratulations. Welcome to the sunny side. Denver, I love Denver. You always get a lot of sunshine, but it can get cold, obviously. You've got ski resorts. So Radia says the first pronunciation was correct. Cool, Radia. Thank you for that. We've got Kalani here from San Diego. Grateful for the sun and beach today. Ooh, nice. Yes, send those beach vibes to the rest of us. That's so exciting. Cool. And then if someone can let me know that you can see my screen and also you can see it switch to another screen. We had a week where the slides didn't switch. So if you can just let me know, I'm about to switch from one screen to the next. Let me play this. Okay, so we're gonna go from here to here to here. Right now there should be Celebrity Business Series on the screen. You could just let me know that you can see that. Great, thank you, Lauren. Thank you, awesome. So I'll scoot back. We've got Megan from Oakland, grateful for friends. Yes, friends are amazing. Cool. Well, thank you all. I'm so excited to spend this time with you. We are going to jump on in because it is 10 a.m. Pacific time. It may be 1 o'clock where you are, but we're going to start right on time because I know I want to be respectful of all the things you've got going on. So today's a fun day. We're going to be talking about Millionaire lessons from Gwyneth Paltrow. This month is dedicated to celebrity business. Every Friday, I do a free Financial Friday webinar with different money topics. And I thought, why not make it fun and talk about celebrities? I love celebrity life, and it's been a little sad that, you know, they are also impacted by COVID-19. So there hasn't been a ton of news. But I've been going back in the archives of like old interviews and getting my celebrity fix that way. So today we're going to be talking about Gwyneth Paltrow. And in the celebrity business series, it's just a fun way to look at money lessons from our favorite stars. I go through a number of lessons that we can learn from each individual. Last week was Rihanna. Today is Gwyneth Paltrow. And then at the end, I sum it up with an overarching business theme. This is just my take. I do not pretend that I know these people in real life. In my dreams, I do. But this is just my personal take. I want to make that clear just because I don't want to say that I'm putting words in their mouth. This is my take on their overarching business theme. And then from that theme, I share action steps that you can take to boost your income. And since this is about celebrities, and I imagine if you're on this call, you like celebrity life too. I would love for this to be a dialogue, like a conversation as I go through these lessons, share any insights, or if you've got additional information that you want to share with me and the group, that would be awesome. And then at the end, I'm certainly open to answering specific questions, but I would also love to hear your thoughts too as we go through. So that is Celebrity Business Series. Let's hop on in. Oh, before we hop on into Gwyneth Paltrow, if you're not familiar with me and my work, my name's Denitha. I'm the creator of Money and Mimosas. We have readers in over 50 countries now. I've been named a personal finance expert by the Wall Street Journal and Fast Company. And if you like this information, I've got a Moneymaker Circle where I do more of these types of talks for folks that want to have a step-by-step guide to building a career, building a business around making money, doing what they love. All right, so let's hop on in. Let's start with the theme for the Celebrity Business Series, in that there is power in understanding the journey of others to help you create your own. This quote is from the Kobe Bryant documentary called Muse. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. You can get it off Amazon. You can also, I have it from YouTube. It's a great documentary about his own journey to becoming an incredible basketball player, an incredible entrepreneur. And he opens the documentary with this quote, in that what I take from is there's so much power in just looking to others for inspiration, and the lessons that other people have learned on their journey, we can apply to our own life and create our own. So that's the theme for this series. And we're gonna look at how that applies to Gwyneth Paltrow. Many of you are probably very familiar with her, but I'll go through her background just to give some more context. So she is an Oscar-winning Hollywood actress. She is the daughter of Hollywood royalty. So both of her parents were involved in Hollywood, and she was born into it, not to take away from the work that she has done and did to build her own brand and her own success within the industry. But she was given plenty of opportunities just because of her last name and because of her family connections. She was born in LA, Santa Monica, but then her parents moved to New York City with the family, and she attended private school there. So she grew up with privilege, grew up with wealth, grew up with fame. And after graduating from high school, which, if you're familiar with the series Gossip Girl on Netflix, and previously it was on TV, but I feel like Gwyneth Paltrow's life was somewhat like Gossip Girl. Love that show. After she finished high school, she then did go to college. She went to UC Santa Barbara. She was going to study anthropology, but decided to drop out because she wanted to pursue acting full time. Worked out well for her, of course. She built an incredible career. Then she became a mother. She became a mother of two along the journey, and then decided to leave the world of acting to launch her own business called Goop, which is what we'll focus on today. This is her lifestyle brand. She launched it in 2008. So about Goop, it is a lifestyle wellness platform. And today, 12 years after she launched it, it's worth $250+ million. Now, this is based off of valuation. So she has raised money, and that's how they came up with that figure. And that's the agreed upon figure according to certain circles. is what Goop is worth now. And Goop is a content platform. You can go to goop.com and get tons of information about all various forms of wellness and lifestyle tips. They cover beauty, fashion, health, and travel, lots of different lifestyle topics, all in free content, free articles. They also have pop-up shops. So of course, this was before COVID-19, but they would do pop-up shops in various cities where you could purchase um, merchandise, rather products that they had created. So on goop.com, they sell both other companies' products as well as create their own beauty products and other products like that. And so they'll have pop-up shops where you can purchase the items that they mention on the website. They also have brick and mortar locations. These, of course, are now currently closed, but I imagine they will reopen. They have one in London. They recently opened one in San Francisco, and I believe they have one or two in two other locations. So they have their own physical locations in addition to those pop-up shops. She also has a Netflix show. The Goop brand has a Netflix TV show. Highly recommend watching it if you haven't already. It's a series where it goes through different health and wellness topics. One is about sexual health for women. There's another episode about psychedelics, mushrooms. There's one about intuitive mediums and connecting with your ancestors. And it's a really fascinating show. So they have that launched in late 2019. They also have a magazine. They do conferences. So they're Goop in Health conferences, which is mostly centered around health topics, but they also have finance experts come in, and it's usually a weekend or a day or a weekend long where you can meet other Goop fans in person and also learn from experts. And usually Gwyneth Paltrow is there as well. And they do have a podcast. I do listen to the podcast. They have very interesting guests on there with a variety of perspectives. Sometimes Gwyneth Paltrow is the interviewer. Sometimes her right-hand woman interviews the guests. They opened the podcast with Oprah Winfrey. So their very first guest was Oprah Winfrey. Gwyneth interviewed her. That's a fantastic interview if you want to listen to that. And so this is Goop. Goop is a lot of different elements to it, a lot of different revenue streams, a lot of wheels in motion, and its overarching platform though is lifestyle wellness. And so what are the millionaire lessons that we can learn from Gwyneth Paltrow as it relates to her as an entrepreneur, starting Goop and her journey with it? What are some things that we can learn? Well, the first thing that really stands out to me as I was reading through her interviews, listening to interviews that she's done, and just over the years, I've been following Goop and its growth. It's incredibly inspiring. And the first lesson that stands out to me is starting with a simple idea, but with a big vision. And so with Gwyneth, she started Goop in 2008 with a simple weekly email to friends. So she, as an actress, would travel the world because of the different projects that she would be working on. And she would live in Italy for 6 months, or France for 3 months, or another location for an entire year for filming. And she, as someone who identifies as incredibly curious and interested in learning about culture, she would want to get immersed in whatever area she was living in. And she realized that when she would stay at a hotel, usually it was a nice hotel because Hollywood actress, she would go to the concierge for tips on where's the best place to get ahi tuna, or what's the best place to do or to see different art sites, or what would you recommend for whatever activity. And she found that the concierge usually just gave answers that didn't capture the local vibe. The concierge would either share information based upon companies that would pay her or pay him to share that information, or it just wasn't information that Gwyneth found to be truly representative of the local culture. Gwyneth wanted to get immersed in the local culture. What are the locals doing? And so she would go out and about on her own to find these answers. She would also talk to the crew on set. So the crew were usually locals, they would be actual residents of the area that they were filming. And so she would talk to them instead of going to the concierge for information. And over time, Gwyneth curated her own lists of things to do in these various countries and cities based upon her conversations with locals and then her own exploration. And she became known to her friend group as the woman to go to for cultural tips or information about a city when you're traveling, or out there wellness tips that Gwyneth may have picked up on when she was in Bali or in another country where they have an alternative form to health and wellness. And so she became known for that in her circle group. And she started a simple weekly email to friends with this information. And that was how Goop got started. And Gwyneth's big vision, though, even though that was a simple idea to share information with friends, her big vision was about democratizing wellness. She wanted to get information out to people so that they could have agency over their own bodies. Gwyneth Paltrow's father, for instance, passed away from cancer just before her first daughter was born and just before Goop was officially launched. And she felt that if she had had more information about alternative treatments for cancer, that may have made a difference for him. They were incredibly close. And Gwyneth talks about that often in her interviews about Goop and her vision around democratizing wellness, that she just wants all of us to have the information we need to feel good in our bodies. And that is the big vision for Goop. And overall, the site is about living your best life, feeling good in your body. She does make a distinction of it being more of an aspirational site versus a luxury site, which is, that's a point to be debated. But the idea, though, is that her big vision was to help people aspire to elevate their own life and give them the tools, the health and wellness tools that they need in order to be able to do that. Lesson number 2 is grow slowly and with intention. So the lesson around intentional growth, I believe, is something that Gwyneth Paltrow embodies so beautifully and elegantly. So for the first 5 years of Goop, so 2008, they didn't really monetize the brand. They started to get some sales in 2011, which I'll go through those numbers here, but they really didn't have a monetization plan. And even still to this day, Gwyneth Paltrow focuses on one quarter at a time. She doesn't, of course, she has this huge vision, this big vision of democratizing wellness and shifting the culture in that way. But in terms of the financials, she's really laser focused on taking it one quarter at a time instead of making these grand plans that are a year, 5 year, 10 years out. And this shows in the actual numbers of the company. Now, these numbers are, I have not personally looked at their financial statements. These are just numbers that I came across in my research, and they were verified with a couple of sources. So I believe them to be true. In 2011, Goop did under $100,000 in sales. In 2012, they did over 1 million in sales. And so that's a 10x growth within 1 year. However, it took 4 years for that to happen. And then these numbers are definitely verified. In 2016, Gwyneth then raised $15 million in funding. And then in 2018, they did another round of fundraising. And in that round, it was a Series C, they raised $50 million. Now, $1 million, that's nothing to sneeze at in terms of the 2012 sales. But when we compare it to other tech companies, in some circles, Goop could be considered a tech company. They're certainly a media company and tech focus. $1 million isn't a lot of money when it comes to these types of brands, and especially when you're raising money from VCs, they like to see huge growth potential. And so, in that context, the growth of Goop has been relatively steady, intentional, perhaps slow from some perspectives, but very intentional and methodical. And that valuation of $250 million is based upon the amount of money they raised in 2018. So they raised $50 million, which gave the company a valuation of $250 million, which is, you know, 10 years after she launched the company as a weekly blog. The next lesson, lesson number 3, is being hyper focused on a very specific target market. Now, this, if you were here last week when I spoke about Rihanna, this is in direct contrast to Rihanna's approach to target market. So Rihanna's market is incredibly diverse, all shapes, all colors, all sizes, all walks of life. When we look at Goop, it is very, very narrow. It's white, affluent American women. That's the demographic, and then the psychographic around that is they're ambitious. They're seeking simple ways to elevate their life, and by having this really niche market, what Goop has done is build trust and authority within this particular segment. And so, while this is certainly controversial, that this is the market, and certainly Goop's representatives say differently, that they don't go out and solely focus on white affluent American women. That is the result. When you go to their conferences, that is what is represented. So that is the result regardless of their intention. They will say that their intention is more along the lines of psychographics rather than demographics. So psychographics meaning like ambition, seeking simple ways to elevate their life. So regardless of the intention, this is the result. The niche market is what is represented at their events. And so for all of us, this just shows that there's a multiple ways of going about building a target audience. You can be incredibly diverse. You can also base your market completely upon yourself. I mean, the people at the Goop in Health conferences are a reflection of Gwyneth Paltrow. They're very similar. And so for each of us building our own business, it just shows that there are different ways to go about creating your own target market. You can create it to be completely diverse. People that may not look like you at all, may not come from any similar background to you. And then you can also build something that's completely based upon your own upbringing, what you portray yourself as, and there's an example here to show you how it can be done. Lesson number 4, own your privilege. So I'm a huge fan of Goop. I feel like I should say that before I jump into this. At the same time, there is the element of privilege that weaves through everything that Goop produces. And Gwyneth owns that. She at times is self-deprecating about it. At times she states it as simply as saying like the sky is blue, like it's just a thing. And Goop is based upon, whether intentional or not, it is based upon that. It's based upon money, fame, and beauty. She's used her affluent upbringing to create this platform. That's not to say that she didn't have trouble, challenges with raising money. In fact, she did. Because she is still a woman in business, at times it was tough for people to take her, it was tough for her at times to raise funding. They wouldn't take her seriously. They would just want to meet with her just because she was an actress and not give any thought to her actual entrepreneurial acumen. But at the same time, she was able to get into those rooms because of her affluent upbringing, because of her celebrity friends. You know, she hosts these events, and these are the women that are brought in as experts, and a lot of them are her friends. Cameron Diaz, Nicole Richie, Tory Burch, they're her friends. They're part of her circle, and so that helps with building a business when you already have those connections in place. And of course, as a Hollywood actress, she's already built a relationship with the media, so she's been able to elevate the brand through PR strategies based upon her connections that she's already built. And so for each of us, we all have an element of privilege within our own lives. And so this is just a lesson. It's not to say that we have been raised like Gwyneth Paltrow, that we have the same connections as her. However, we can all take a look at our own lives and find where is the opportunities, privilege that we have that we can tap into. And for Goop specifically, because Gwyneth Paltrow taps into this, it does add to the controversy of her brand, which some people will say any news is good news, any media attention is good attention. And Goop may be an example of that. You know, in the beginning, certainly it got a lot of attention for this privilege in not a good way. People were not happy about the way Gwyneth Paltrow was positioning Goop and the topics that they were talking about. But it did present opportunities for the press to cover the company, which is more attention. So there's a double-edged sword. There's two sides to that coin, rather. All right, so lesson number 5, seek out advice from anyone. So Gwyneth Paltrow is a total sponge. She's incredibly curious. In her interview, she talks a lot about how when she was first starting Goop, she didn't know things that technically an entrepreneur, a tech entrepreneur especially, should know, like things like SaaS. She shares in her interviews that she asked the question at one point in a meeting, like, okay, you guys keep talking about SaaS, service as SaaS, SaaS, and what does that mean? What is service as? Like, what's the rest of this? And at first, it can be scary to ask those questions because you can come across as ignorant. You can come across as, you know, especially if you're raising funding, you want to come across as knowledgeable. But Gwyneth Paltrow learned early on that being ignorant was not a sin. It wasn't a bad thing to be ignorant. What the issue was is if she didn't ask questions and get to know the answer in order to improve as an entrepreneur. So she asks a lot of questions. She has mentors from all different industries. This particular person is Brian Chesky. He's the CEO of Airbnb. She mentions him a few times as a mentor of hers, and he is not only in a completely different industry, he's also much younger than her, and she doesn't care. It's not a matter of, you know, I'm Gwyneth Paltrow, I should know all the answers. No, I'm going to reach out to people who have had success in areas that I'm looking to grow in, and I'm going to ask for help. And so being a sponge, not being afraid to ask a lot of questions, and don't be afraid to be ignorant. Being ignorant is not a bad thing. It's only a problem if you aren't open to gaining more knowledge. So be a sponge. Lesson number 6, push cultural boundaries. Gwyneth Paltrow is a trailblazer. Whether you love Goop or you hate Goop, there's usually very few people that are in the middle. I feel like it's a very it's a brand, it's a company that has very strong opinions on either side. Either way, Gwyneth, no doubt, regardless of which side you fall on, is a trailblazer. She incites conversations that that a lot of people shy away from. She talks about sexual health for women. She talks about psychedelics. She talks about intuitive mediums and connecting with ancestors. She was the first one to talk about gluten-free lifestyle. If some of you remember when she first brought that up, there was so much hate thrown her way. People were calling her a bad mother for putting her children on gluten-free diets. And now, of course, gluten-free is something that many of us, if we're not practicing that, certainly we know someone that is. But she was a trailblazer in that conversation before it became a cultural norm. So she incites conversation. She's not afraid of the haters, people that either don't like her because of her privilege or don't like her because they don't agree with some of the content that she's sharing. She welcomes it all, and she welcomes taking it into a point. She shared in an interview that if she gets negative feedback, that hurts her feelings, she knows that that's an opportunity for her to assess it because there's some sort of truth in that. If it doesn't hurt her feelings, then she just moves on. And that's a very enlightened, I believe, approach to that type of feedback. She's also, and Goop has also gotten negative feedback from the medical community for being pseudoscience. They did settle a lawsuit in 2017. The settlement was $125,000 because Goop was sharing information that hadn't been backed by the medical community, or verified rather by the medical community. And the medical community, because they say that Goop is pseudoscience, they believe Goop at times is putting people in harm's way by giving them information that isn't true. And so with all of that, Gwyneth Paltrow and the Goop team continue to produce content, knowing that yes, they're going to make mistakes along the way. As a trailblazer, that's what happens. At the same time, they're committed to that vision, though, of giving people agency over their own bodies, and that's what they stand behind, and that's the drive behind continuing to do the work that they do. Lesson number 7: seamlessly blend the sale of physical products with compelling content. This aspect, I believe, Goop does the best at. They are the best content marketers, hands down. I mean, there are other companies that are doing an incredible job. The way Goop does it, it's incredible. I bought products just based upon some articles that I was reading. There was an article, it was a morning routine article, and the way they described Goop Glow's exfoliating packets, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. It has acai berries in it, and it's going to give me this glowing skin. $125 later, I was like so excited. I wasn't even mad about spending $125 on this product, because just the way they described it, I was like, oh, if I don't have this in my life, like, what am I doing? So that's what their content marketing does. They aren't pushy with their sales. Certainly, if you're on their email list, sometimes they'll send an email that says shop now, and it's a picture of the product and a button. Very clear, very direct. But most of their sales strategy is based around content marketing. So they'll describe someone's morning routine, or they have glow guides that they produce. Their travel guides are really popular, where they'll send someone from the Goop team to Santa Barbara or to Thailand, and they'll share their experience. And in that article where they're sharing the things that they did, the activities, the places that they saw, they'll share different beauty products that they used, the clothes that they wore each day. And it just creates this lifestyle ambiance where it just pulls you in, it draws you in, and it's aspirational. You know, for the folks that are drawn to Goop, they aspire to elevate their life in simple ways, sometimes in more expensive ways, but it's always simple ways to take your life to that next step. And that's what they do with their content marketing. They have built out a new area within content marketing, within marketing in general, called contextual commerce. So that's the idea of, you write an article or you produce some sort of content, maybe it's a video form, where you just showcase products that you're using. It's a step above product placement. It's you actually utilizing the product in your own life, or someone on your team utilizing that product. And that is an area of marketing that they are trailblazing, and they are, in my opinion, doing the best at it. And so seamlessly blending product sales within their content is a lesson that all of us can apply potentially to our own business. Lesson number 8: integrating woo-woo with science. And so woo-woo is the idea that some people may call it spirituality, some people may just call it woo-woo. Whatever word resonates with you. Goop has done, over the years, has done an incredible job of integrating both. So in the beginning, they were very much on the woo-woo side, without scientific backing. As they've grown, as they've matured as a company, they've hired a team of scientists to verify some of the information that they put out. And if it can't be verified by their scientific research team, then they make it very clear that, hey, there isn't research to back this information, but we felt it was important to share so that you can experiment for yourself. Um, Keeping in mind that science has its own methodology, and sometimes that methodology can take 10, 15 years. In the meantime, there may be really helpful information that someone can use to improve their life. Remember, their vision is about giving us agency over our bodies. So sometimes that information may not be verified by science because science just hasn't gotten to it yet. And or they've gotten to it and it's taking some time for them to verify it at the while that's happening, though, that doesn't mean that it can't be helpful to someone. So the Goop has done, as they've matured, they've put intention and effort, energy, time, resources, and money behind integrating those two worlds, the woo-woo side, the science side, Eastern medicine with Western medicine, spirituality with more of a pragmatic approach to life. They try to blend the two so that to show that the two can work together. In the beginning, as I mentioned, when Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop first introduced gluten-free lifestyle, that was considered woo-woo. I mean, imagine how far we've come. That we used to think, as a culture, we used to think being gluten-free was this hippy-dippy approach to life, when in actuality, gluten has been one of the main forms of inflammation for so many people in their bodies. And so at the beginning, it was considered woo-woo, but as time has gone, culture has caught up, science has caught up, and now it's something that many of us accept as fact, that gluten-free lifestyle can be really helpful for some people. They also talk a lot about psychedelics. There is more and more science to support the use of mushrooms for different health remedies. However, mushrooms are not legal, so there's still this tension in the culture around, can a health and wellness site talk about psychedelics if it's not legal? Like, is that okay? Their Goop Netflix TV show talks about it in depth. So if you're interested in hearing their perspective and some of the science behind it, because there is some science to support it now, I would definitely check out that episode on Netflix. And then they also talk about intuitive mediums connecting with ancestors. So for some people, that is considered woo-woo. That's considered out there. It's considered, the world of psychics and something that isn't actually real. For others, this is very much real, and Goop is exploring that for us to see. Connecting with ancestors for some people has done a lot to help them alleviate stress, anxiety, feeling connected to their purpose. As I mentioned, Gwyneth Paltrow's father passed away, and she shares in the Goop Netflix show that this form of healing has been transformative for her. So again, Goop's mission is to give us all agency over our own wellness. And sometimes that means sharing information that may not be verified by science, but if it's worked for one person, perhaps it could work for more people. And so they push the woo-woo side to give people alternative options to traditional Western medicine and that approach to healing your life. Lesson number 9, seek brands outside your industry for inspiration. In a lot of interviews, Gwyneth Paltrow will point to Disney as her guiding light. She sees that company as incredible, and that's the light post for her as she builds Goop. If we think about Disney, I mean, it's the happiest place on earth. They've done an incredible job of building a brand and business that has lasted the test of time. It transcends generations. I mean, I love Disney. Little kids love Disney. Grandparents love Disney. I mean, everyone loves Disney. And from a business perspective, though, like financial perspective, for Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop, they're a guiding light because of all the things I just mentioned. And then on top of that, the financial piece around brand partnerships. So when you go to Disney, sometimes their rides will be sponsored or in partnership with a large tech company or another company. And that's what Goop, one of their revenue streams is brand partnerships. So Goop and the Gwyneth and the Goop team look to Disney for inspiration around that. Disney has also done a really good job of combining media, content, and live experiences, all with under the umbrella of Disney. And Disney has a big vision of being the happiest place on earth, bringing joy to as many people as possible. And that combination of those different elements helps to create that ability to further that vision. And so looking outside the industry for inspiration is key, because there isn't a health and wellness platform that really provides that same type of feeling that Goop is going for. So if Gwyneth Paltrow had simply stuck to health and wellness, she wouldn't have found inspiration as a guiding light for her business. So she looked outside of it. And that's something we can all do within our own businesses, is look outside of our industry for inspiration and guidance. And then lesson number 10, flaunt your flaws. Gwyneth Paltrow in her interviews can be incredibly self-deprecating. She's certainly transparent. Some people would say vulnerability. I don't like the word vulnerability, but that may resonate with you. She is authentic in her interviews. She shares her mom fail moments. In this interview with John Legend, took over the Ellen DeGeneres show for an episode or two, and Gwyneth Paltrow was on as a guest, and she shared some of her mom fail moments. And she was honest about how sometimes it's tough raising an almost teenage daughter. At the time, her daughter was almost a teenager. And instead of hiding it or pretending that she's perfect, she was honest about it and open. She's also really honest in other interviews about her lack of confidence in the beginning of Goop. So with Goop, that was a big move for her. I mean, think about, given, yes, all of her privilege, at the same time, if we just look at her as a woman, she went from an industry that she knew really well, that she had built a lot of success on, and transitioned into a whole other space where she didn't have as many connections, didn't really know what she was doing, and had to develop the self-belief that she could make it happen. And many of us can point to a time in our life, maybe we're going through that now, where everything that you've known is working well, but then for whatever reason, either you're forced out of that world or it's just not feeling good anymore, so you're moving out of it and you decide to pivot to another area. That unknown is tough, and it requires confidence, it requires self-belief. And so she talks a lot about that. And she talks also about how being a Hollywood actress, especially during that time, I mean, this was pre-Harvey Weinstein being held accountable for the egregious actions that he took. Before that, Hollywood actresses were kept within a box, and ambition was not something that was tolerated, supported. And so her pivoting out of that into being an entrepreneur, it takes a lot of gumption, a lot of ambition, and that was tough for her. So she talks about that. And she also talks a lot about the mistakes she made when she first started Goop, mistakes that cost them a lot of money. I mentioned the lawsuit earlier. That's a mistake that she talks about, that she's learned from, and just some other things that she's made some missteps on. And she shares that candidly. And so that's something to consider within our own businesses. How can we show up and be candid about our experiences, our feelings, and our own personal challenges, because it draws people in, and it also just humanizes everything that you do. Everyone wants to connect with the human behind the business, and Gwyneth does a really good job of doing that within her interviews. The last lesson is more of a bonus. One of the quotes that Gwyneth has said a couple of times in her interviews that really stood out to me was, she says, my life is good because I'm not passive about it. And that is infused in the entire Goop brand. It's about elevating your life. It's about taking ownership over your body and your health. And at the same time, it takes effort to do that. And Gwyneth herself is an example of, given all the resources she's, yes, been given and has access to, at the same time, she's consciously made decisions, taken action because she wants to have a good life and she doesn't want to be passive about it and just rely on things that are given to her. And so that lesson is infused within her brand. So any personal motto that you have around life, I imagine this is a personal motto of Gwyneth Paltrow's, infuse that into your company because you'll attract people that also believe in that motto and will love your brand and business even more because of it. And those are the lessons from Gwyneth Paltrow. To go back to that initial quote, there is power in understanding the journey of others to help you create your own. Hopefully some of those lessons resonated with you and you found ways that you can include it in your own business and brand. To close, the overarching lesson from Gwyneth Paltrow's success that I believe we can all apply to our business in some way, shape, or form. There's a spectrum to all of this. But from Gwyneth Paltrow, the biggest lesson that I took from her was embracing an organic intuition-based growth. Embrace organic intuition-based growth. And what I mean by that is we live in a culture, especially I live in the Bay Area, especially in the Bay Area, there's this push to grow fast and to grow big. And if you aren't this huge business in a year, then why even bother? And Gwyneth Paltrow's approach and her company Goop is a really great example of it takes time. Good things take time. And the more you tap into your intuition and allow that to guide you, you will reap beautiful results. It's almost like a garden. You can't rush a rose in the garden, right? It has its own process of you have to nurture it and then allow it to bloom on its own time. And so that's the sense that I get from Gwyneth Paltrow's approach to business that I feel is really refreshing and something that we can all incorporate in our own businesses. So how can you do that? Steps you can take. First, start off with what do you and your friends enjoy and wish to see more of. That idea of having an intuition-based approach is really tapping into what you already like and what your friends already like. That's how Goop got started. It was started with a simple idea of Gwyneth and her friends wanted more information about healthy ways of living and cool things to do when they travel. That was it. Very simple. And they wanted to see more of that, more tips and information around that. So think to your own life. What do you and your friends enjoy and wish to see more of? That's your intuition talking to you. Things that you already enjoy and feel good, that will lead you down a path of your own abundance. And then how can you incorporate this into your business? Whatever it is, there's a way to incorporate it into your business. Maybe it's a whole brand based around that, or it's elements that you can infuse within your business based upon that. And then 3, set small quarterly financial goals. Going back to Gwyneth's intentional growth, the lesson around intentional growth, she still, even though the company is valued at over $250 million, she still is very focused on quarter by quarter, season by season. She has that big overarching vision, but she's not looking out a year, 5 years, setting these huge, monstrous financial goals that are out of alignment with her intuition. So start small, set small quarterly financial goals, and allow your success to build upon itself organically. And those are the Millionaire lessons from Gwyneth Paltrow. I hope this was as fun for you as it was for me to research. I'm going to open it up to questions. If you want more money tips, you can always visit moneyandmimosas.com. I have a couple of articles, in fact, about Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop if you want to dive more into my research around that brand and that business and see how maybe you can apply it to your life. your business, or just to have more information for your own sake, then you can check that out on moneyandmimosas.com. So now I'm going to open it up to the chat. Let me stop my share. We got about 15 minutes. So I ran through that quickly. Fun. Software as a service. Yes, thank you, Catherine. Let's see. Betsy says, super excited. Such an amazing idea. Belinda says, thanks for the webinar. Really enjoyed the insights. Yay, awesome. Yes, I blanked on what SaaS was. Thanks for that. Software as a service. Yes. Cool. Any questions? Any thoughts, insights you want to share? Maxie says, thank you. One of the most amazing webinars ever. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Maxie. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Could you tell me what you enjoyed about it? Just so I can know for myself and maybe repeat it. Carl says, will you repost via email or your website? Yes, Carl. So these celebrity business webinars will be on YouTube. I will post the recording there and then follow up with an email so that you all have access to it. Maxie says, how do you stay patient during the growing phase? Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, that is, I would say one thing that helps is having a clear vision, like knowing a clear big vision. So knowing where you want to go, and if it's big enough, you know that it can't happen overnight. And being in touch with that vision for your own self, like what you want your life to look like, what you want your business to do, that will help you remain grounded and connected, because the growing phase, it's like growing pains, right? It's tough. And so that will help, and finding some sort of way to get centered. So for some people, it's meditation. For others, it's running. Some it's yoga. Finding what is your process for getting centered and reconnected, I believe will help during the growing phase. Then you say, yes, I enjoyed how succinct and inspiring every point was. Ooh, great. Awesome. Thanks for that feedback. And then Simone said, this was an excellent webinar. It was succinct yet robust with info and insights. Literally just heard of you at 12:55 p.m. Oh, fun. This was a special Friday treat. Yay. So glad you could join. That's exciting. Betsy said it flowed very beautifully. I wasn't lost at any time and was able to relate. Oh, great. Awesome. Yes, I believe we can see, my hope is that we can see ourselves in these webinars. So great. Thank you for that feedback. Okay, Lauren asked, what are some creative ways to network under the new circumstances, quarantine? Yes, it is definitely taking some creative approaches to connect with people. So Lauren, I would say some Facebook groups have been really helpful for me personally. So I'm involved in the B School community group. If you're familiar with Marie Forleo, that I'll type her in. B School community. You do have to be in the B School program. Other communities. Oh, there's another community, the Skinny Confidential. I mean, depending upon what you're looking for, right? But these are just some that I have found to be really engaged communities, where there's other entrepreneurs, people to ways you can make more friends, but also places where you can potentially share your business ideas, share your business services and products. So Facebook groups. And then as you if you're on Instagram, social media, what I do is as I see people comment on other posts that we're clearly like on the same wavelength, we have the same ideas. Like I'll reach out to them, like say, "Hey, I thought your post on so and so's caption, I thought your comment on so and so's post was really funny or really interesting," and I'll start a conversation that way. So it's like networking. It's just it's different because you can't see the person, but those are some ways that I've been connecting with people under these circumstances. Let me know if that helps, Lauren. We can think of more ways. Tirsa says, I echo everyone's sentiments. Great webinar. I didn't know group had so many lanes. I have seen the Netflix show and think she still has lots of potential to grow and expand. I like that she is quick to move on to something else if she finds something is not working. Yes. Oh, I love that point that you bring up, Tirsa. Yeah, she is a great example for us to look to as someone who pivots quickly. If something isn't working, yeah, they move on. And if it's also if they receive negative feedback about something, they're quick to address it as well. Yeah, that's a really great point. Radia says, thank you, Denitha, for your time and insightful information. It was well laid out and practical to provide an outline to further enhance our financial portfolio. Much appreciated. Yes, absolutely. Yay, glad you enjoyed it. Hey, Lauren, actually, as I'm thinking about it, if you're still on, I'm going to unmute you because since you are looking to connect with community, I mean, there's people on this call that you may want to connect with. So I'd love to hear. Um, let's see. How do I? Oh, here we go. Lauren, if you could type your question in the Q&A box, that will allow me to unmute you. And then I'd love to hear more about your business and who you're looking to connect with. Who knows? There may be someone on here that would love to connect with you. Okay, looking to network with young professionals. Cool. Awesome. Well, people on the call, if you are a young professional or young at heart, Lauren would love to connect. So when I send out that group email with the link to the YouTube, let me know if you'd love to chat with Lauren and I can connect you to via email. I'm trying to think of how we can make this more of a community. It's something I'll have to get a little creative on because there's so many awesome, you're also awesome in different places in the world and the country. Cool. Any other questions or points that you want to bring up? Otherwise, it is time to party at home. Oh, this quarantine shelter in place is so funny. Oh, Simone says, I would welcome that. Looking forward to the email. Oh, great. Cool. Yeah. So, Lauren and Simone, I'll connect you to. I'm able to see your emails. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Maxie says, perhaps some of us could type in our businesses to show the diversity of the women here. Oh, it's a great idea. Yes, if you all could share. Oh, thank you, Maxie. Yes, please lead us, Maxie. Tell us more about your business. Just type it in the chat box. Everyone that's still on, share a little bit about your business. Let's see. So Maxie says, I'm a full-time voiceover artist. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. What's some of can you type in your website, Maxi? I'd love to check out your work. maxidunn.com. Fabulous. That is so cool. Lauren is a realtor in the San Francisco Bay Area. Awesome. I love it. Amy asks, I'm curious what initially brought others to Denitha Money and Mimosas. I wasn't sure what to expect. This is my first session and I loved it. Insightful, intimate, and relatable, especially for topics as vulnerable and expansive. Thank you, Amy, and welcome. I'm so glad you're able to make it. And thanks for that feedback. What brought you to this webinar? And then, yeah, if anyone else wants to share that, and also keep typing in the businesses that you do. Sharon is a project manager by trade, but I do direct wine sales, One Hope Wine. Ooh, if anyone's looking for wine, connect with Sharon. There's her website, The Wine Boss. I love that. I've definitely been drinking more wine during this shelter in place, and I am not ashamed of that. So I will definitely check out your website too, Sharon. I'm a rosé and Chardonnay type of girl. It's a buttery Chardonnay. Cool. We got a couple more posts. Quick question: is there an overarching common or consistent theme from the financial lessons that you've seen? Oh, it's a good question. Well, as it relates to the celebrity topic, like the series that we're doing in May about different celebrities. Oh, next week is Jessica Alba, and then we'll end the the month with Shay Mitchell. Um, Overarching is everyone does something that they love. Like it is things like with Rihanna, we talked about fashion, and she's got the Fenty Beauty line, and Savage, her lingerie line. All of those are based upon her own love of lingerie and makeup. Of course, Gwyneth, we learned about today, her love for health and wellness. Jessica is also, her business is about health as well. It's The Honest Company. And then Shay Mitchell will learn about her love for travel. And so it's all things that are just their passions. That's the overarching, common, consistent theme, is monetizing what you love. Let's see. Tirsa says, I can't seem to see the websites I've been interested in learning about the voiceover world. Maybe you could list out a list of the businesses with your follow-up email. Oh, yes. So I will include this. Oh, thanks. This is such a great idea. Okay, so I'm going to include your websites in the email that I follow up with. And going forward, in the beginning, you know how I ask how, like what you're grateful for? Instead, I'll ask the question about your business. I think that that would be great to open it up with this conversation. Thanks so much for these ideas. See, look at us co-creating. This is perfect. Carl said, I think I found her on YouTube, but I love the positive vibes. Oh, cool. Yay. Sharon's also a lover of Chardonnay and Rosé. Yes. Awesome. Amy says, I'm working on growing my writing as an offering into the world. Currently, I'm a program manager at a leadership institute, but facilitate dance and writing sessions in my free time. Oh, beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, Amy. Yes, for our next session, if you're able to come, we do this every Friday. Keep us posted as you grow in that area, and as you need support, like let us know how we can help. That's also a question I'll ask too. So I'll ask what kind of business you have, and something along the lines of like the support you're looking for. Um, cool. Cool. See you later, Amy. Have a good weekend. Okay, Radia says, I'm an engineering master's student and will be exploring careers in the healthcare field upon graduation. I'm always open to exploring other income streams to build my financial portfolio. Thank you for answering that. Cool. And congratulations. My fiance finished, he did his master's in engineering. He finished, I think, in 2018, 2017. Really great um, field, I should say, rather, to have your studies in. So that's awesome. Maxie says, if someone wants to contact me about the voiceover biz, they're welcome to contact me on my website, and I'd be happy to be a resource of info. Cool. I'll include that in the email. Oh, thank you. Okay, so Zoom may now default to all panelists. Okay, thank you. Someone just shared Nonsum. Thank you for that. Just shared a Zoom technical thing with me. I will look into that. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited that we've connected. Like, I love now that I know more about you all. And I'm going to include websites, contact information, well, the websites. And then if you want to reach out to the person, you can contact them directly. And then hopefully I'll see you all next Friday, and we'll start it off with more of this conversation piece so that we can start building community together. Thank you so much for your energy and your presence today. I hope you have a lovely, peaceful weekend, and we'll talk soon. All right, bye.